faith, spirituality, theology, all that stuff tends to it permeates every aspect of our lives. So to have one single thing is just too difficult. I wrote one single book to try to convey what was on my heart. And at the core of that book is that for Christians, those who claim to be Christians, means we're trying to be like Jesus. We're trying to follow in the way of Jesus. So as I look at the information we have on Jesus, he was very, very clear in who he came to reach and how he planned to reach them. And he rooted it in the greatest commandment, which I love because the greatest commandment is not unique to Jesus. His ministry and his life and his story spread the greatest commandment in many ways, but it's not original to him. The greatest commandment is mentioned in the Bible before Jesus ever walks the earth. And of course, Judaism is not an original faith tradition because Judaism borrowed from traditions that came before it. But Jesus says the greatest commandment in all of the law is to love God with your heart, your soul, and your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus says, everything in the law, everything in the prophets hinge on these two. So sometimes when I talk to other Christians, they try to separate love for God and love for neighbor as self and say, well, you got to love God first. But that's not how Jesus said it. He said everything hinges on these two. So it's not two separate commandments. It's one commandment with two parts. And you cannot love God outside of the lens of loving your neighbor as yourself. And see, that's why I say you can't just say one thing because it just keeps on going. So if I had one thing, it would be to truly unpack and understand the implications of the greatest commandment. You can't love God if you don't love your neighbor. You can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself.